Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
This is where me and the Fool give our
Unqualified and unrequested.
ramblings on the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast about football. American football, that is.
Yeah. American football. Gridiron.
Gridiron. We have just come when the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely smashed the Kansas City Chiefs in a result I think nobody was expecting.
No, not like that, that's for sure. Like, it was just crazy.
Like, for people like myself who were watching the game, we literally saw Patrick Mahomes. This is the worst I've seen him play.
Yeah.
Maybe in any game.
Yeah. Definitely in any postseason game. That's for sure.
Yeah. Because
yeah.
The Chiefs once again, it shows once again, if you don't have your O-line working 100%, a strong defense, I guess, can still make Patrick Mahomes look human.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a reason I guess no team has done the three-peat. The Kansas City Chiefs came oh so close.
Yeah, it came the closest of anybody, right? They at least got to a Super Bowl to try for the three-peat, but yeah. You're right. It sort of shows just exactly how hard it is to do the three-peat in the NFL. Even a team as good as the Chiefs can't manage that superhuman feat yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Travis Kelce retiring, you hate to say it because every season the Chiefs do prove us wrong. Who knows if they'll be back for the big dance next year? Because if they do come back next year, of course they're not going to do a three-peat, but they would equal the Bills in making 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah.
The famous Bills team of the 90s did.
Yeah.
90 to 1994. Now, overall, I think we can definitely say the Eagles did everything right this season. They signed Saquon Barkley. He gets two. Everybody wonders whether this was the right move. He's an injury-prone running back. They paid him a little bit, and boy, he gets 2,000 rushing yards over the season, and breaks all the records. Gets another 800-900 receiving yards as well.
Yeah.
Basically changes the entire offense for the Eagles.
Crazy, really.
They had so many weapons, and also the Jalen Hurts would pull out games where all their stars would, if the defense wasn't playing well or the O-line was being shaky, he would take over and start playing, hero ball. This was the big criticism we have for some QBs, in that they tend to go to hero ball too quickly, and I think Jalen Hurts, rightfully, you can say he did that a lot in this season, and the few games the Eagles lost, some of it was his fault, but most of the times when he did play hero ball this season, it was necessary. The Eagles needed him to pull something out. He did it in the conference championship game against the Commanders. We were watching that game in America when I was there, and it was basically 23-23 at the end of the half, and then the Eagles basically smashed it in the second half with Jalen Hurts taking over.
Nice.
Obviously, the defense helped, and then that's what happened in the Super Bowl as well. The defense kept keeping Patrick Mahomes from scoring and making Kansas City keeping on punting, and every time he got the ball, basically Jalen Hurts would score.
Yeah.
And he played hero ball at the beginning to get the Eagles a lead, and then this is the thing we haven't seen Jalen Hurts do since his second season when he almost got MVP, where he stops playing hero ball and becomes game manager again. He can, switch gears.
Yeah. Which is always good.
Like he hasn't shown this before. Like I think players like Josh Allen, I feel like when he goes into hero ball mode, he can't come out. But he goes less and less into hero ball mode these days.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson almost never plays hero ball, and Patrick Mahomes is another guy who goes into when he goes into hero ball mode, he can't get out of it. He
Yeah,
like
yeah,
has
yeah.
to
Keep
pretty
going.
much keep going.
Thing about
But
Mahomes and Allen is they tend to go into hero ball mode at the end of games, right? So, like
yeah,
that's we've seen that in Super Bowls as well with Mahomes, like pulling back deficits before
like
because he just suddenly
well,
pulls out all
I
the
think
stops. So
I think Patrick Mahomes has had to make a comeback in almost every playoff game he's played, like from
yeah,
behind.
it's about everyone.
So
Yeah,
that means you have to play a little bit of
yeah.
hero ball because it relies on you to score points.
Mm.
Whereas, like, someone like Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson almost never play hero ball. They're always calm. Like, they're always doing, it's weird because I think Lamar Jackson just holds himself back and, like, just becomes calmer and calmer and, like, tries to use his passing
Mm.
uh, as much as possible and uses running strategically. Like, he's always like, oh yeah, one of these will work because I'm Lamar.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Josh Allen, the reason why I don't think he has a hero ball mode. He just always plays to the best of his ability. Like he's always going all out.
Yeah.
There's no second gear for him. There's only like the the Joe Burrow thing is Joe Burrow's thing is like he's only got the one gear.
Yeah.
He doesn't play hero ball because he's like always going all out to win. But yeah, so looking at the season, I think we've had a really great one where the J- both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson had a great campaign. In the end,
Yeah.
Josh Allen won MVP, but I think
Yeah.
everybody kind of agreed one of the other two. If Lamar had won, that would have been fine. If Josh Allen won, that's also fine. They
Yeah. Yeah.
both had a great season. Um, Bills managing to scrape ahead of the Ravens in a game where the Ravens special teams and their receivers did not play their best,
Mm.
and then the Bills then lost to the Chiefs as
Oh.
per usual in the
Oh, so
conference.
close as well. Like
Yep.
that game. Watched it and it was just like, oh, how close can it all be? Some calls were like borderline, very 50-50 either way, and they go one way, and it's like, I mean, there was a couple there. There was the catch that may have been knocked out. Was it under control? There was a couple of tush pushes where they ended up spotting the ball just behind the line. There's one especially that was on 4th and inches, and it looked like Allen had got over, and two different refs
Yeah.
disagreed, and they went with the one that said no. Yeah, so, things like that. And then there was that last throw, which Allen under pressure managed to throw like an actual catchable ball, which looked like a miracle, last hope. You know, biff it down and hope sort of thing, and it ends up right in the breadbasket and just gets completely dropped. It's like, oh,
Yes.
guys, come on. But yeah,
Whatever else, you can't blame Josh Allen for the
No.
Bills losing
no.
this season.
He really did
Uh,
throw it all out there. I think he got MVP, as you say, so I think that was very deserved, because he definitely threw everything he possibly could at the season.
It's one of those things. Both the Bills and the Ravens are gonna have to look at their squad and look at their plans for next season because they've only got so many more years of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen playing at this level
Yeah,
where they're absolutely on form. Like they've both got MVP level seasons.
yeah,
So they don't. Yeah, there's only so much. They have to try and capitalize as much as they can now. Like the next couple of years, I think both on Lamar and Josh's contract, it's a bit easier.
hmm
for them. So we'll see how they go next season. The Bills do have a completely new coaching staff. I don't know that any of their staff members are getting poached. So hopefully another year, like the defense will improve. And ditto for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Next, on the other end, we had the Washington Commanders, who had a fantastic season, absolutely surprising everyone with a rookie QB. They basically Jaden Daniels has made the name Commanders cool.
Yeah.
Nobody in DC was calling the team the Commanders. I've been I was there the first year where they changed the name.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was associated with Dan Schneider and the old membership group. They get Jaden Daniels in. He has this incredible first season, and the new ownership group go, "Yep, we're not rebranding from the Commanders. We're sticking to the current brand." Um, and why the heck not? He's basically had an MVP level season. He
Mm-hmm.
almost gets his team to the Super Bowl on
Yeah.
his rookie season, one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Maybe the best rookie season we've ever seen. Um, he's and like the receipts he has are impressive. He beats the Lions in the playoffs, beats the Bucks just in a close game at Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah.
So two away playoff wins as a wild card, and almost like has a very strong first half against the Eagles before they take over and absolutely smash them. But we know that the NFC conference now has a new star, like a new young star
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with him in there. And the Commanders now with his rookie contract and their new ownership, hopefully they draft well in the offseason and bring him. If they can shore up that O-line a bit further, I think they can go really far next year. We'll obviously have to see, but they've got to be one of the strong contenders um, for the NFC next year.
You would think.
Um,
Yeah.
in the divisional rounds, the Lions had a magic season to remember. They get their first playoff win. Everybody's expecting them to win the divisional round, and unfortunately, they kind of get caned by the Commanders. In the end, the scoreline kind of flattered Detroit. Commanders
Yeah.
beating them very comfortably.
Yeah.
But I think the Lions, once again, they've got another season. They've got Phil Goff. They're run it back. Obviously, the team had a whole bunch of injuries, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether Dan Campbell le- changes his approach. I think. Okay, what I'm saying is, so far, all the teams have coming. Let's give them a grade. We can't give the Eagles anything but an A plus, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
the Chiefs an A
I think an A.
by
Yeah.
their high
Like
by
they.
their own high standards.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, they really only only the final was the only game where you could say that they didn't really turn
Yeah.
out properly. They.
And they were 15-1 in the regular season.
That's. I mean, yeah.
16-1.
Yeah.
16-2.
They. Yeah. They won the basically everything all the way through up to the end. So can't really
Yeah.
fault them that. Yeah. Unfortunately, you say last game wasn't their best game. Um,
Yeah.
But a lot of that goes to how well Philadelphia played. So
Absolutely. I think for the Bills and the Ravens, both sides, I don't think either will be happy with their seasons. I think a B. Both of
yeah,
them, they've been in this position. Like the Bills and the Ravens are teams now who they want to be in the championship games. They want to be in the Super Bowl.
yeah, yeah. So
And the
yeah,
fact that these two sides, both this is like maybe their third or fourth year with this stacked team with a great quarterback, that they're still not at the big dance. So they'll be yeah, they're going to be working on it, but it's not a failure. Obviously, they both won their divisions and
mm-mm.
won playoff games and went pretty far.
Yeah.
And obviously, the
Prob-
Bills made it to the championship game.
Probably give them
Um,
B pluses really, since you
I
say
think B
it's
plus for the Bills, and I think
yeah,
maybe B minus for the Ravens. They would have wanted to go further. I think, especially since they had such a good season last season.
yeah, yeah.
The Commanders, you got to give him an A plus. Completely unexpected. Like this was supposed to be a rebuild year
Yeah, yeah,
with a rookie quarterback, and they've basically uh, gone further than anyone expected.
yeah,
In the divisional round, the other game was the Eagles versus the Rams. I think the Rams also had a pretty good season, managed to win against the Vikings. Absolutely smashed Sam Darnold with their defense and
yeah,
scored almost at will. And for Matthew Stafford once again making the Vikings pay
yeah,
as he has done throughout his career, both at the Rams and at the Lions.
yeah,
Um, Unfortunately, the Rams were the team that came the closest to beating the Eagles. They almost Sean McVay. You can never count him out. He almost out strategic the Eagles, but the Eagles managed to sneak through
yeah,
before the uh, before for the end of the game. Then we the Chiefs played the Texans. Now the Texans, I think the Rams. You got to give them at least a B. They made it to the
yeah,
divisional round. They've they've rebuilt it to a good team now. Their injuries have hurt them, but you gotta you gotta take this young core somewhere. But they've probably got more room for improvement. So they've got more uh, opportunities for improvement, I
yeah,
should
yeah.
say.
They got more
'Cause-
leeway, right?
yeah,
It's not like the Ravens and the Bills where you're like, you guys are in prime territory. You need to be making more of
yeah.
it. It's like Rams, you've got
Because
a few more
otherwise,
years
you're
of
gonna
this. Like in a few years' time, we're expecting bigger things, but right now, like this is pretty good.
no, like the Rams, their players are still gonna be cheap for a while, whereas the
Mm.
Bills and Ravens are paying guys
Yeah, yeah,
now, so they have to get their guys now.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
The uh, the other divisional game was the Chiefs versus the Texans. The Texans had a very disappointing regular season.
Mm.
They obviously topped their division, but that's not saying much because their division was arguably one of the weakest in football.
Yeah,
They managed to be qualify for the playoffs very early on, and then kind of chilled. And everybody was expecting them to lose to the Chargers, but they actually smashed them
yeah,
in their game. So the Texans, a disappointing regular season, but they got a playoff win again. So CJ Stroud has got he's at point 500 .500 in the playoffs, so that's not too bad. He's lost to Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
yeah,
Not, you know, but unexpectedly he's managed to beat Justin Herbert this year, and last year uh, he managed to beat the Miami Dolphins,
yeah,
who unfortunately had Tua injured. So he went through there. The Ravens also managed to smash their AFC North rivals in the wild card round. The Steelers once again, it's a weird season. They came second. They look like it's a team that was basically the Steelers always look like every season they play hard to get Mike Tomlin his because he's a coach who's never finished below 500 in a season, and they
yeah,
get him to that over 500 record, and then they just stop trying. They've had an interesting season with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, so we'll see what happens in the next season. I think the Steelers, you can say that they've had at least a B minus season because they made it to the playoffs with
yeah.
probably one of the weaker teams in the league. And also they paid nothing for their QBs, so they have to. You got to take advantage when you've got like someone on like Russell Wilson's talent, and you're paying him only like $1 million a game,
Yeah,
which, sorry, not $1 million a game, so like $1 million for the season because
yeah,
he's
yeah.
still being paid by his old team. Um, Russell Wilson, a bit of a comeback season for him, managing to take the Steelers to the playoffs. Given his old team, the Denver Broncos, are willingly paying him $100 million not to pay for them.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he can tell the Broncos, "Look, I got my team to the playoffs, which is as far as you got as well." So
Yeah. No difference.
no difference. But there's a huge difference because the Broncos drafted a new quarterback in Bo Nix, and he, after looking a bit shaky in his first couple of games, has come leaps and bounds. Any other year where Jaden Daniels didn't exist, Bo Nix would have been Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
As is, they've still had an incredible season. There's so much the Broncos have such a great setup now. They've got one of the best coaches ever in Sean Payton coaching them, and they've got a good young, quote unquote, young quarterback, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Because there's a YouTube show that I watch called Gridiron Heights, which is basically like an animated show.
Yeah.
Which parodies the NFL, and one of the gags they have is whenever there's a rookie player that season, they have baby voices. But Bo Nix on his rookie season talked like a normal person because he was so old already and already so experienced in the college game. Like he'd already played like 6 years in college at this point and was 27 years old. So
All right. Yeah.
understandable. Like Bo Nix was the last quarterback taken in the draft last year. There were 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round last year, and arguably all of them have made a huge impact. Jaden Daniels, obviously, and Bo Nix getting to the playoffs. 2 of the rookies. The Minnesota Vikings quarterback unfortunately getting injured, but Sam Darnold taking them to the playoffs. So they had they looked like they had an interesting decision to make, and then Sam Darnold, for some reason, in the last 2 games of the season, returned back to being Sam Darnold. And we were like, oh, okay, no, the Vikings shouldn't pay him. Go with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
And the ditto for the so the NFC North ended up with 3 teams in the playoffs, and every single one of them lost their first playoff game. Detroit obviously got the first round bye and lost. The Detroit, we have to give them a B, because I think everybody was expecting them to make the Super Bowl, and the fact that they didn't even win a playoff game.
Yeah. Gotta give them a bit for their 15-2 though. So yeah.
Yeah.
Seems about right.
The Packers managed to make it to the playoffs, and this was the return fixture. Jordan Love played against the Eagles, and last year he looked bored while absolutely destroying the Eagles. This year the Eagles managed to make him pay, and they lost that game. But I think the Packers, given the fact that they had a bit of a transition in their defense, and they're still very young on offense, and they've got a great QB still, they've got to be pretty happy about their situation. But this season, I think there's a lot of speculation that they would be going to the championship game, if not the Super Bowl. So the fans are probably disappointed. So I guess give them a B as well.
Yeah.
And the Chargers, like the Broncos, got to give them an A-. They got a rookie QB and managed to make it to the playoffs. They had a really bad, they looked like they were going to be one of the worst teams. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the league when the season started. The Chargers, everybody didn't know what to expect. They had a new coach, and they managed to make it. John Harbaugh managed to take them to the playoffs in his first season. Justin Herbert once again makes it to the playoffs and loses a playoff game. So he's even though he's been great in the regular season, but I think the Chargers should be happy, because while everybody was expecting them to beat the Texans, and they didn't, that's gotta be disappointing. The regular season, given they had no attacking weapons, no wide receivers, no running back, and they had to rely on having a pretty decent defense and special teams and Justin Herbert and Nick. They should in the offseason be able to build on that pretty well. So hopefully the Chargers don't waste Justin Herbert's window right now, given
Hmm.
he's also currently getting paid. So you want to make sure you're surrounding him with the talent
Yeah.
to get done. Now, looking at the teams that didn't make the playoffs, um, the looking at the AFC, first of all, the Dolphins came pretty. The Dolphins have a losing record, and that the Jets and the Patriots all are in the tank bowl. Patriots having the third overall seed. At one point, looked like they were going to get the number one seed again, but they ended up with the third seed.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins, you can give them maybe a C plus because they at times look good when Tua was fit, but when Tua's not available, they look absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Then the Jets, well, what can we say? The Jets have had, in the last 10 years, the Jets are the only team to have not made the playoffs in the NFL.
Oh wow.
At
Really?
all. So
Yeah,
their fans have had nothing.
nothing.
Like
Yeah.
even the Browns have made the playoffs twice.
Come on,
Okay, the
Jets.
Browns have won a playoff game
Oh, Jets, come on.
in their conference. Like the Lions have made the playoffs too now, so they're the only team to have not made the playoffs.
Wow, yeah.
The Patriots, sure, they finished badly, but we all knew that they were going to be bad because they didn't have an O-line and they didn't have an offense at all. But the
Hmm.
3 games that they played their rookie Drake May, who was the third overall pick, he looked pretty dang good. Eye test, like his stats didn't look that good, but when you watched him play, at least I thought he looks like a really promising player, kind of Joe Burrow-esque, but
Right,
like
yeah.
taller and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see what he does next season. Um, the AFC West, they had 3 teams go in. Obviously, the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos. We've all given them good grades because they've
Yeah.
all played well. The Raiders looked terrible, but they looked like they were trying to tank to try and get get a quarterback. They're still gonna have problems with a quarterback because they didn't quite tank hard enough. So at the moment, everybody thinks there's only 2 quarterbacks worth getting next year's draft,
All right.
and the Raiders don't have either number 1 or the number 2 pick. Um, so their season, you can probably give them, like, the Jets are an F, the the Raiders are an F. The Jets are probably an F minus because they had Aaron Rodgers. People were expecting them to get
Yeah.
9 wins, and they got 5. So
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, definitely. It's the F minus. They failed. They're failing.
Yeah. With the Bengals, given they had a fully healthy Joe Burrow for most of the season, you gotta give they must be thinking it's a D plus, right? They failed
Yeah.
because they just missed out on the playoffs, and like the Bengals, like this is Joe Burrow's window. They need to go as often as possible to the playoffs to give him a chance to win games. Because I think if the Cincinnati Bengals had made the playoffs, who knows? They could have possibly beaten the Ravens, beaten the Bills, beaten the Chiefs.
Yeah. Who knows?
Uh, They're very, yeah, they've got that big game mentality.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns F minus minus.
Yeah.
We give them 3, like, such a bad team. But they'll probably draft a quarterback,
Yeah.
so we'll see. Then the NFC South, we've already given the Texans their grade, which was the B minus. Was it a C plus we gave them?
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
no, they got a playoff win, so I guess B minus.
B
Because a
minus. Yeah.
playoff win is worth
That's right.
more
They
than
got the win. Yeah. So B minus.
the Colts, who just missed out once again. I think the Colts, given they've got a great quarterback and who know the The team should be doing better given how good their roster is. They're gonna be disappointed, so I think they're probably a C minus. The Jaguars and the Jaguars have got to be like D minus. They made Trevor Lawrence the highest paid player in the league, and then they got 4 wins.
Yeah.
They weren't even trying to tank.
No.
They were trying to win. And this was supposed to be a division with 3 good QBs. Turns out they only had one good QB, and CJ Stroud. Then the Titans, who were obviously trying to tank. I can't. Obviously, it's an F because they were the worst team in the league and they have the first overall pick. But that's what they wanted to do. So
Yeah.
no, fair
It's
enough.
it's a passing fail grade, right?
Yeah.
They failed successfully.
They failed successfully. Looking at the NFC, the Eagles obviously we gave them an A plus, and we gotta give the Commanders an A plus given
Yeah, we gave them an A plus as well.
turnaround. They had the New York Giants also tried to tank. I think they have the second overall pick. And the Cowboys got said. The Cowboys are a team that were trying desperately to get to the playoffs. And their owner said they were going all in, and then didn't bring any players in.
Great owners there.
Yeah. They needed a running back, so there was Saquon Barkley available, and there was Derrick Henry available. Both of those guys had basically MVP-esque career seasons.
Yeah.
Who they didn't sign. So, who knows what Dallas is doing? I think speaking to friends that we met in the U.S. who were Dallas fans, they were not happy.
No.
I think their season is definitely, I think, a D, if not a D minus, but a D, because they at least finished above the Giants. The Giants failed to get the first overall pick. They got the second, so we'll see.
We'll see.
I think we'll give them an F because obviously they're the second worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And they didn't re-sign Saquon, and Saquon went and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. So yeah, the Giants and the Eagles have the biggest rivalry in the NFL. Like that's the number one rivalry. They didn't sign the best player on their team, and he went and won with their greatest rivals.
Yeah. Just really rubbed it into them.
Yeah. They next up with the NFC West. Obviously, the Rams made the playoffs once again, playing above how young their team is and how they're still kind of in transition. I think the Rams are going to be great next season as well, but I think you gotta give them a B minus. They made the playoffs, but and they managed to win a game to make it. Then
we might have given them a B when we were going through the playoff teams, on the grounds that they're a little younger, they had a little bit more.
B, and then they did win a playoff game as well.
Yeah, they won a playoff game. They have a little bit more time and scope than say the Ravens and the Bills. So, like the Ravens and the Bills are getting B minus, especially like you need to be making more of what you got. But yeah, the Rams have just got a little bit more time to sort that out. So I think a B for the Rams.
I think that's fair. The Seahawks came so close to qualifying for the playoffs, but the NFC North teams were too strong. The Seahawks, they're playing with house money. They still have Geno. They're not paying him a lot. They're building up a team around, and wouldn't be surprised if not next season, but the season after they either signed a veteran quarterback or another veteran quarterback, or drafted in a young QB to the team. The Cardinals came very, very close to almost qualifying for the playoffs themselves. Once again, too many injuries. I think the Cardinals, they're a frustrating team. Must be at least a D plus. Then they would be wanting this team to make it to the playoffs, given how much they're paying Kyler Murray right now. And the 49ers, the team that basically came second in the Super Bowl, they had the ultimate Super Bowl hang-up with injuries all around in their offense, defense, and then eventually also Brock Purdy getting injured. It's very tough. They're in a situation now whether they want to sign him long term or not.
Mm.
Especially since Brock is not being paid properly at all, given he was the last pick in the draft.
All right, yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant, as they like to say,
Mhm.
and so he was only earning 400,000 a season, and now he probably wants to earn like proper generational wealth if they're gonna sign him
Yeah, yeah.
for his first contract, and he's kind of earned it. He's taken the team to a Super Bowl,
Exactly.
so be interesting to see how the Niners sort that out. But also, it's the same problem the Niners had with their previous quarterback. He was good too, but it's injury prone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the issue with Brock as well. But yeah, the 49ers, I think you got to give them a D minus.
Yeah.
Disappointing season, especially given they wanted to win. Like this was the last cheap year of Brock Purdy they had before. Now they're gonna have to pay him.
Yeah, exactly.
And the NFC North, I think first three teams we gave them all the grades.
Yeah.
Lions were A minus. Vikings, I think A minus given their situation, and the Packers, if not A minus, B plus
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least. Chicago Bears. Everybody thought Caleb had like the perfect situation going in. I was always skeptical because I thought the Bears O line looked pretty wonky, and look,
Mm.
their O line does look pretty wonky, but.
Yeah.
And they had to fire the coach and the offensive coordinator. So yeah, despite that, Caleb played pretty well to get 5 wins, I think, in his debut season. The Bears, they were not some people thought they might be good enough to make the playoffs. I always thought that was too far, but given the fans must be disappointed, they'll give them a C minus because they at least had. Caleb came through the first year without dying from his bad O line.
Yeah,
So
no, that's pretty cool.
so that should be good enough.
Yeah.
Buccaneers managed to win the division quite easily. Unfortunately, lost to the Washington Commanders, and the Baker couldn't win a playoff game in his third playoff appearance. But I think everybody in the Bucs organization is pretty happy with their season.
Mm.
They're significantly better than everybody else. Everybody was wondering about the Falcons and whatnot, but this division is getting tougher. The Saints are pretty bad, and still don't know. They've changed their coach. We don't know what's happening with their QB position. Saints, I think we could give them a D for the season because they also didn't get a high enough draft pick to go draft someone.
Yeah.
The Panthers, despite having the same record as the Saints, I think they had a good season because they were terrible last season.
Yeah.
But because Bryce Young, who they drafted first overall, had a horror first season, and then he started the season, got dropped for Andy Rifle, and then he went and took over once when Andy got injured and started balling and play like even though he didn't win all his games, he balled. The
Mm.
Panthers' defense was terrible, so he's kind of made a comeback season, and I think next season's going to be very, very interesting because it's a problem with it's same with him and Tua. Tua and him, they're not athletic, but they think really fast and they make decisions really quickly. So they're basically unblitzable because they get rid of the ball too quickly. But they're both still they're both also really small. They're not tall and able to
Yeah.
see over with the vision. But they both have great arms and they both have great decision making, but yeah, Tua has the advantage in my opinion because he's left-handed.
All right, yeah.
And so the Panthers are in an interesting point. They actually have draft picks, so we'll see what they do to help Bryce Young in the offseason.
Mm.
Finally, we have the Atlanta Falcons, a team nobody understands what they're doing because they signed free agent Kirk Cousins to a $140 million 4-year deal and 140 million guaranteed money over 4 years. By the way, not his bonuses. That,
Well,
not including his bonuses. That was his guaranteed portion of the
yeah.
contract. And then drafted a quarterback in the first round in Michael Penix
Yeah.
as well. And just to be clear, Michael Penix is the same age as Bo Nix. He is 28 years old, so this is not a young guy who who was raw and needed. This guy's as as ready as he'll ever be because he's been playing college ball for so long.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and he and obviously he's an incredible passer, and he was one of the most exciting players in the national championships. Not the season just been, but the season before, where he took Washington to the finals,
Yeah.
where they lost to Michigan. But the Falcons drafted him. They said that it's because they wanted him to sit behind Kirk Cousins, and he would take over eventually once Kirko moved on. And
Mm.
you're just like, okay, but you don't need to pay Kirko 140 million for 3 years, surely for that. 4 years for that, and he Kirk Cousins started off okay, and then played worse and worse as the season progressed, and then. Once it looked like the Falcons' season was over, they dropped him and started Penix, who won uh, 3 out of the next 5 games. So the Falcons are in an interesting position. They've wasted a lot of money because Kirk Cousins is going to leave next season. So they're going to have to pay him to play for somebody else, looks like.
All right, yeah.
Unless they can convince the new team to take on some of his contract, which they might do because Kirk is still a pretty good QB.
Yeah.
He's just recovering from an Achilles injury. It's almost as though people who are in their late 30s have a hard time recovering from Achilles injuries.
Well, really, that's
Maybe.
an interesting thing to find out, really.
Yeah.
News,
It's
right?
not is as people who are no longer in their late 30s. I'm interested. I don't really remember how Achilles work anymore. I just know mine don't.
Pretty much, yes. What is this working muscles? What?
Yeah. But just from doing stuff like jumping around in the playground when I haven't warmed up is enough for me to not pull my Achilles but strain my Achilles.
All right, yeah.
So I'll have to start rubbing around, and that's just because I'm not doing as much. I'm not in shape. Whereas if you had actually ripped your Achilles,
Oof. Yeah. Yeah.
it's one of the hardest injuries to come back from, and that's
Yes.
why it's there's very few people who have managed to do that in the history of sports, let alone American football.
Mm.
I can't imagine a soccer player, or even the closest we have in basketball is Kevin Durant, who still had to be injured for 2 seasons recovering from that Achilles.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all that aside, I think the Falcons, you gotta give them an F for this season because that clearly wasn't their plan,
Yeah.
and they have no idea what they're doing. But they might still be good next season because Penix is good. It's this weird thing. There's 6 quarterbacks drafted, at least 5 of them. I look because we haven't seen JJ McCarthy, so I can't judge him. He hasn't played a single snap of NFL football.
Hmm.
Whereas the other five, all you look going, okay. Two of them look like bona fide stars, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Caleb looks like he will be if the Bears continue investing around him properly. And Drake May and Michael Penix definitely could be, have all the ingredients. And, it's one of those things where I think even if they don't become stars in their current team, they might move on to another team and become a star like
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith. But yeah, that's, I think, the review we have for this season. Been great. The draft will happen in a month or so's time, and then we're gonna get excited about the season again.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I think all hail the new champions, the new king, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll see how they do in the coming season.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I think that's all we have time for. So thanks so much for listening, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.